Good afternoon, Phillies and Gentle Colts, ladies and gentlemen. This is PMV Today host Skydash, and you've tuned in to PMV Today's Spotlight podcast. Tonight, I'm going to be talking to a really awesome PMV artist. That's TheLightLeavesThee. How you doing, Light?
I'm doing pretty great. How are you, Sky?
I'm pretty good. Is there anything you want us to call you besides TLLT or something?
You can call me Dex. That's what
Dex,
most people
right.
refer to me by.
Gotcha, man. Well, if we're doing good tonight, we might as well get into the questions here. So, where are you calling from, Dex?
I'm right outside Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So that's why I'm always doomed, quote, doomed, unquote, to visit BronyCon every year, because it's literally a 15-minute drive away.
Yeah, really. I was thinking about that. I live a lot down the coast. I'm down in Georgia, so it's a hard drive up there. But y'all are getting snow right now, isn't that right?
We're supposed to be getting snow, but like I don't know if it got colder or not. I've been inside most of the day today, and it was 52 when I went out to do some work today. So if it's snowing, it's news to me.
All right. Well, it's been a hot winter overall. Speaking of what we might want to call you, is there any story behind your username? I recall you wanting to switch it at one point. Was that right?
Yeah, for a while, I ran the gambit with being Hero Pony for a while.
Right.
But originally when I started out TheLightLeavesThee, it mostly has to do with an old friend of mine that most of the time when people, ask me what it means, I kind of just like don't have the time for the story, and I kind of just say, oh, I just came up with it out of nowhere. The real meaning is I actually knew this guy. I knew this guy that went by the alias Light, and he sadly passed away in the late 2012. And yeah, and it was right around the time where I decided to close down my YouTube channel, and then I heard about him passing away, and he was an internet friend of mine. I never got to meet him in real life or anything like that, and for some reason, I just felt like that name, because he meant so much to me, and I was really sad about it, and I made my username named after him. And then for a little bit, I went with the gambit of Hero Pony, but then I realized, I'm not going to be making horse content forever, so, I'll just go back to the TheLightLeavesThee. It also rolls off the tongue better, so.
That's true. It's a really nice username at that. I'll give you that. That's
yeah. I hate trying to use it in other places, though. Just signed up for a PlayStation Network account earlier, and it was just like, darn it, I got to cut the out of the name again, because it's such a long handle.
Well, how did you get into ponies in general? I mean, is it...
Well, for the longest time, I kicked around the AMV community for a little bit, or the subsection, the game music video community, more specifically. Right. And there's just a few friends of mine here and there that were just, talking about this My Little Pony thing, and I was just like, really? Ponies? I mean, all right, if you insist. And I gave it a shot one day when I was, not in the best of moods, and my friend was like, you need to watch this. And she sent me the episode, I think it was Sonic Rainbow was the episode she sent me. And I was like, give me more after I finished watching it. I was like, I want more of this. Because I'm big into character design and stuff like that when it comes to animation. And for lack of a better word, I was just in love with the character design of Rainbow Dash. And basically I was just like, I was really drawn in by all the design and the stories and stuff like that. And, friend sent me a link to the, place to watch all the episodes. And, week later, I was done with season 2. So...
yeah, I definitely agree with you on the design part and the most. I mean, it's just so very bouncy and colorful, and it's not too pushed out, but at the same time, it is really easy on the eyes and good to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially when you think about the previous generations and you have that in your mind.
Yeah. Oh. It's funny. I actually just got around to watching the Bronies Reactus Generation 3 earlier today, and I was just like, oh god, it all looks terrible. It just all looks terrible.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, with that in mind, what is your favorite thing about MLP? Is it the character design or?
At first it was the character design and the animation itself, and it actually got me to, pick up a little bit of Flash here and there. I don't know too terribly much about it, but, I picked up a couple puppets and started playing around with it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
haven't released anything yet, but for a while it was the character design and the animation itself, and then I started really getting into the stories, and now I kind of go back and forth on what my favorite gambit about the show is, and right now it's characters, specifically Party Pink Horse, who's best horse and will reign supreme forever.
Right. Well, I might not agree on that one, but
a lot of people don't.
No, that's awesome. You said you played around with Flash. Is there any chance that we'll see that in the future videos, maybe?
Eventually. Eventually.
I mean, it's definitely a hard thing to get the hang of.
Yeah.
It's very time consuming.
Yeah, I haven't touched Flash in a good while. Like, for instance, I switched computers over to a nice desktop about a year ago, and I haven't even reinstalled Flash yet. I was using it on my old laptop. Most of what I've been playing with outside of, regular video editing programs is Source Filmmaker, because I love 3D animation in particular, and I always wanted to know how to do some of that stuff, and I've been picking that up, and it's quite the learning curve. It's not what I'm used to.
Well, that's awesome. I guess we'll move on to some of the core questions now, since we've got you a good bit introduced. What do you want to bring in your videos to your audience? Are there like themes that you really want to say, or is it just entertainment, or what?
For lack of a better term, what I love to go for is I love to give people something that they can come back to. So most of what I try to do is bring something that, you can get more enjoyment out of doing, or get more enjoyment by watching more than once.
Right.
So generally I go with things that, have deeper meaning or deeper themes. For a long while, I ran the gambit, being called by a bunch of close friends of mine as the really bright and happy guy that makes depressing cartoon horse videos.
Well,
because for a while, that's what I wound up doing. Because, I wanted, what I like to do is mostly just get emotional reaction from myself and from viewers while creating stuff. And for the longest time, that's what the gambit I ran with. Now I'm trying to get into more combining that with visually aesthetic pleasing kind of stuff. So been toying around with motion graphics and After Effects a lot lately. So
yeah, you're doing a great job with that that visually pleasing part. I mean, I watched the Daymare Step Cometh. That was some awesome editing, man. I just gotta hand it to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that was that was an idea I got while having some conversation with guys in the anthology chat. We were just sitting there talking, and I just got that idea because they were talking about like there was an original short with that, and I just kind of was like, I've seen a couple really good PMVs, but I want to do one of my own. And then, a week later, I had it done because I didn't spend too terribly long on it. But
wow, I mean, I know that I don't have the quickest editing workflow. It took me a year to get my first PMV done, and then I just trashed it afterwards. But a week is still pretty fast, man. You must have some good practice with that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, in PMV editing, do you have any other AMV artists or PMV artists that have influenced your work? He seems to bring a really nice modern mix style to your PMVs.
Yeah. A lot of my inspiration actually does come from AMV editors. Like she hasn't uploaded anything in forever. She used to be a really good friend of mine. She went by the alias Dazzling Paul, and she was one of the biggest inspirations to me and many other people. Late 2012, early 2013. Most of my work back in that time period is, it's reminiscent of her style. And then I could name off editors all the time in the AMV community that influence me. But the biggest one has to be Dazzling Paul, and then editors like Tophergasm. I also really enjoy watching their work as well. As far as PMV artists go, one of my absolute biggest inspirations is Eclipse. I love his work, and he's a really good guy. And it's funny. I kind of recently went back and watched like all of his work from his first PMV to what he does now, and it's kind of astounding how far he's come. And that's what I like to do as well. Is I like to watch editors that I either really used to like or still really like, and go back and watch older stuff and what they do now, and and then I go back and look at the same thing, and I get the drive to continue improving my work. But yeah, as far as pony editors go, it's Eclipse and
Eclipse and Dazzler.
Respect copyright my can't say the last name of that alias, but
that guy. Yeah that guy. He's really great too, though. Well, speaking of PMVs, AMVs, I mean, which ones? What makes you decide what you want to do? I mean, is it just the ease of scenery from one show, or the how much you like one show over another?
I'm not gonna lie, most of my AMV stuff is action related, because that's what I'm into when it comes to anime. I like stuff like Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, basically anything by Gainax.
Yeah.
And there's also pretty much anything that can give off a good feeling vibe. I usually go with PMVs with, because it's a happy show, and I try to go for more that route nowadays.
Certainly.
And then there's times where I just get an idea in my head when I hear a song, and I'm just like, you know what, that could either go with this or this, and I bounce back and forth of what footage I'm going to use. And a lot of times, especially in the past couple of years, it just defaults to horses.
Yeah. Yeah, horses are the best. Most of the time. Well, that brings up an interesting point. When you're doing, do you ever do combination videos, like a little bit of MLP, a bit of Kill la Kill? Do you ever do that?
I've thought about it. There's this one thing that I've been meaning to do, because I recently just hit like 5,000 subscribers, and I want to do something special for that. And I thought, like, there's one thing that I did back in like early 2013 that never got finished, because I never got the inspiration to do it, because I picked a really bad song. not a bad song, but a song that's it's hard to mash all that footage together with. But basically, there's this concept of a you pick I vid kind of thing, where basically you put up a video and all the parts are like divided into separate parts, and people comment in the comments like, you should do this part with this footage. And I'm thinking about doing another one of those recently, because I want something to get me a little bit more back into the editing game, because my inspiration's kind of been either at an all-time low, or I get silly ideas for stuff for anthology. So my channel's been kind of lonely as of late.
Well, you've released videos pretty consistently, at least. I mean, if not every 2 weeks, they're still pretty good videos. I mean,
I try. I try.
All right, man. Well, we certainly hope to see them coming more consistently, or more plentifully. But what creative process do you undergo to make your animations, now that we're on that? Do you come up with the idea first and then put it down, or you just start looking at scenes and develop from there?
Now, see, the whole I do hear about people like seeing scenes and getting ideas from there. That's never worked for me. Like, if it works for you, great. Okay. It's never worked for me. I'll get an idea for like an episode, and then I'll get a theme from that, and then like I'll find a song that fits that theme to the best ability. But a lot of times it just comes from me listening to a lot of music. And basically, if I find a song, I get an idea in my head, and I'm like, yes, this works. I'll sit down, believe it or not, actually write out some parts of it, and I've got this like editing notebook where I just sit down and write out ideas. Like, this scene goes with this part, and I'll do this transition here. But of course, I've got terrible handwriting, so I go back and look at it later. I'm like, what was I trying to write?
Hey, I feel you on that one.
Yeah. And that's mostly my creative process. Is A, get the idea. B, find a theme. C, listen to a song that's got the theme over and over and over and over again until I've got the basis for what I want to do, and it goes from there.
That's cool. So we really definitely see your style in there. You've got definitely a bunch of keyed out scenes, leading into transitions, and all sorts of awesome effects in there. What do you think is part of your overall uniqueness? What's your style, man?
The big thing I try to go for in my uniqueness is I try to like every. I've been in the editing community for long enough to notice that like every community has like its own defining style. Um, except for the pony community, surprisingly. Like, you've got one half the community that does a lot of show stuff, like show-based stuff, and, you know, really simplistic stuff that, you know, just really hits home because it's really well themed. And then you've got the motion graphics community. And then, like, the AV community works on a lot of, like, the masking transitions and zooms and pans. And then the game music community, the big thing there was color correction. So basically, I just take all of that and try to mix it into one. And whatever comes of it, comes of it. You know, I try to have the panning and the masking and the stuff from the AMV days, and then I go for more, you know, color correction. I try to go for the more subtle stuff, except for there was one video I made where I kind of went overboard with the color correction. But
hey, we all do every once in a while. I mean,
yeah, and then
fun.
You know, I try to mix in some sort of like After Effects motion graphics-y stuff. Doesn't always work. A lot of times I wind up scrapping it all together, that part, because I just can't get it to fit. That's the one thing. And then, you know, the scene selection from the more, you know, I don't want to say basic, but more simplistic styles of the PMV community.
Yeah, I definitely see that a lot. The simplistic ones have really good scene selection, but if they could just add a little bit of those effects that you were talking about from the other communities, they would be fantastic. You know?
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to do. And you know, it's interesting because, you know, even back when I like, you know, was before I was even doing ponies, like I would have people be like, I haven't really seen someone with this style before. Because, you know, I just mix and match. Pretty much, I just throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and if it doesn't stick, then I take it off the wall. So,
well, now I guess that's how you do it. Back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there any difficulties that you constantly have to encounter, or just technical theme difficulties?
The biggest difficulty I constantly struggle with is just inspiration. And I'm sure that pretty much goes for every editor ever, is basically you get an idea in your head and you think it's a great idea. You sit down, you open up whatever editing software it is, and you sit there and you stare at it for an hour and a half. You don't do anything. Yeah. And then, like, you're on your computer, and for me, it's been worse. You're on your computer, and then, like, you get a Steam notification. You're like, oh, I'll just go play this game now. And then, like, get distracted, and then I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I still have Sony Vegas open, and I didn't do anything, and I don't want it to work some today. Whoops. You know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like, do you think there's also or do you ever have any problems with your technical computer abilities? I mean,
very rare occasions. Like, I'm not trying to boost my own ego here or anything, but it's a very rare occasion where I'll stumble across something and I'll be like, man, I can't do that. Like, even if it takes me hours to work on one part, I'll still sit there and try to make it look right, even if it's, you know. But there have been the occasional speed bump where I'll bump into something that I'm not entirely sure how to do. And I'll look up tutorials and I'll get the general idea for it, but like I'll sit there, I'll mess around with it, and then close it and go work on another project and go back on it. Like there are some projects of mine that have been in process for like, you know, a year and a half, 2 years, and probably will never see the light of day because I forget they exist unless I go through, like, you know, to clear out my cache or something like that. And basically I'll be like, oh yeah, right, I was working on that, and then I open it up and I'm like, this was actually really good, but I don't want to work on it because this part. So stuff like that does happen to me occasionally.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Sony Vegas. Are you happy with that editing program, or do you prefer it over the others? Why?
I do prefer it over the others just because it's, you know, pretty much since, we'll say early 2010, that's the interface I've been working with, is the Sony Vegas interface. And
comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm just really comfortable with it. I get it that there are other programs out there that are much better. Like Premiere is a much better program. It runs better, etc., and stuff like that. It's not as glitchy. Sony Vegas is so glitchy, but it's just that interface that I'm just comfortable with, and generally, I'll just default to that. But as of late, like I've been actually preferring After Effects a little bit more, just because like I can just sit there. Like for the longest time, I didn't know how to work with any like actual footage in After Effects. I didn't know how to do it. I knew how to make like pretty sparkles and stuff like that. Knew how to do that. Knew how to do typography. Never really knew how to throw like actual footage into the mix. And then once I figured out how to do that, like I've just been kind of piddling around with stuff in After Effects more often than Sony Vegas anymore. But that I do prefer Sony Vegas as my main editing program.
That's cool. I think I prefer After Effects just because, like you said, it has so many shiny stuff that you can do with it just easily. Like you can make stars and a galaxy and whoa. But yeah, it has a lot of. I'm sure Sony Vegas has a lot of technical possibilities though too.
Oh my god, yeah. Like I can't show it to you guys because like we're streaming and stuff like that. But like there's this one AMV I saw recently, or not really an AMV, it was a manga music video, and like I was just like, wow, that was all in Sony Vegas. Like they posted a snapshot of the project file, and it had like 332 layers, and I was just like, oh Jesus Christ. And I'm just sitting there like, it would have been so much easier to do this part in After Effects or this part in After Effects. It would have been so much easier. Props to them, though. that's
definitely. I mean, sometimes these videos can use a lot of gigabytes, like literally gigabytes of project files. But,
oh my god, yeah.
Oh. Well, what's the hardest project that you've worked on so far?
Hardest project I have worked on. I'll give two examples. One is a collab part I did for. I'm pretty sure if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's for this collab that I coordinated with a bunch of people, and it's called the Collaboratory. And all this time, the part I did for that actually I took a lot of time working with, and I had a friend of mine who goes by Guncha. And yeah, I had my friend Guncha help me out a lot with that part, and it was a lot of work to get that part done.
Well, it looks great. I mean, I've seen it personally, and everybody who participated in there is wonderful. I mean, made a great video.
I'm beyond ecstatic, and I'm really excited to get our second project underway. We brought on one more person for the next project, and I'm not going to spoil who it'll be, but let's just say that they're not the most known editor in the world, but they had one project that was rather well received, and I'm excited to have them on board.
Okay, you're bringing in a wild card. That's awesome. Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about this. What do you plan to do in the future with your channel?
In my channel, I've been dropping hints at it recently, but I'll just come out and say it. BurningCon 2014, I was asked to join the guys at Pony's Anthology for the next project. Yeah. So, awesome. I've been working a lot on stuff for them recently, but, whenever I get ideas for, like, I am working on one PMV that either I'm going to get done by the end of this month, or I will, like, set it to release at midnight on New Year's. I'm hoping to have something done within the next couple of weeks, but, as far as future, I'll release what I can when I can, because I don't want people to think I've died, because that's definitely not the case. I've got a lot of, just a lot of ideas for, stuff for the anthology, and then I've got the collab channel that I'm, in charge of, or, well, quote, in charge of, unquote. And, right. Well, I say quotes because we're all a team. We all work together. I'm just the guy that got everyone together, and I'm the one that renders the projects out. But as far as my channel goes, PMVs will come out when I get ideas for them. I've got a lot of projects in the works right now, actually, for my own channel. I just got to get around to finishing them. And my release schedule for PMVs is at least one every 2 months. So my last one was in November, and the next one, even though I do want to have it done by December, it'll probably come out in January. So
well, we'll definitely be looking forward to it. I mean, all the other videos you've done are pretty great. I especially like your Kingdom Hearts one that you just put out recently.
Yeah, that was the one that was a birthday present for a friend of mine. I've got a big Kingdom Hearts video on the process right now. That I, for a contest, should have done by the end of the year, but we'll see what happens with that.
Awesome. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. I think that's all the core questions we have. I think we might have a few questions from the audience. Is that correct? No questions from the audience, apparently. Not right now. Well, audience, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them, because we have this great PMV star right here with us. Of course, if you want to ask him any questions afterwards, they can contact you via your YouTube channel. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I was thinking about doing a Q&A recently, because there's certain transitions and stuff that I get asked questions on, and I've got the technology to make tutorials. I'm just lazy.
Right. Let me see. Well, who's your favorite background character? We know Pinkie Pie's the front person, but
Party Pink Horse is I've actually got my own shrine to her in my corner here with a bunch of posters and statues and stuff. Well, not statues.
Whoa.
Figures and plushes. Background character, Vinyl, because
Scratch.
I'm in my personal life. I'm kind of a party animal, and so I kind of resonate with the whole party animal thing there.
Okay, that's cool. So, do you have any final advice that you would give to PMV makers who are aspiring to make PMVs like yourself or AMVs?
Don't give up. That's the biggest thing I can ever, don't give up. I mean, eventually your interest will fizzle out, but don't quit because you don't feel you can be this good, or don't quit because you don't feel like your videos are good. Because and that's why I always consider PMVs and fan edits like a art form in its own way, because a lot of artists never have confidence in their own work. Like, even the greatest artists of all time were never confident in their own work. They were, I mean, you have to have a bit of confidence in your own work, but there's just some times where you're just not happy with something and you might give up on it because you don't like how it's turning out. And I'll be like, don't give up. But the biggest piece of advice I can definitely provide, other than the generic don't give up, is, talk to people. Make friends that are in the community, and, find the right people that are able to give you criticism without being a jerk about it. Yeah,
Friendship
because
is magic, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the many, many, many different people that I've gotten, criticism from over the, few years that I've been doing this. And, I definitely wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for friends, because I probably would have quit and up and deleted my channel by now, because I don't like how this video is turning out. Everything I do is crap. Flip table, hiss, whine, scratch claw.
Yeah. Oh, well. Any final words that you might have for the guys out there who are listening?
Well, I appreciate anybody that does come around and listen, and yeah, I can't wait for season 5.
Oh yeah, really? What's your biggest anticipation about that? We have a couple minutes here.
More party horse, please. Not kidding. I really want to see where they take Twilight's character arc from here. Like, so many times I feel like they've exhausted all they could possibly do with her. At the end of season 3, I was like, okay, next season's going to focus on other characters. No, a large majority of it was about Twilight. Maybe Equestria Girls 2 were about her. No, it was mostly about Sunset Shimmer. So, I'm really interested to see if they do actually go anywhere with Twilight's character arc, any more into the princess studies and stuff like that. I want to see more of that castle that just spawned up in the middle of Ponyville.
Yes, definitely.
I want to see more of that. But yeah, definitely more party horse as well.
All right.
Horse.
Well, I think that's about all the time we've got, ladies and gentlecolts. I'd like to thank Dex here for having us on our website, pmvtoday.com. And I guess we'll see you when the next Editor Spotlight rolls around. All right. This is PMV Today host Sky Dash signing off along with Dex here. Dex, say goodbye.
Good night, everybody.